This is where we're introduced to Kai Leng. Who is Kai Leng, you ask? Well, let me give you a breakdown. Kai Leng is an elite Cerberus operative who has advanced close combat training, abundance of convenient plot armor, enhanced biotic capabilities, undetectable stealth skills, heightened reflexes, and tactical expertise who Tim has had access to since before Mass Effect 2. Now, why would Tim spend billions of dollars and countless resources resurrecting Shepard when he could have just gotten this guy the entire time? The answer? I have no fucking idea. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for the Star Child, this would be the stupidest thing about Mass Effect 3's story because everything about Kai Leng is contrived and forced into the game for no reason other than to give Shepard an annoying rival. Why? Just why? Why would Tim want anything to do with Shepard with Kai Leng around? This just makes him look even stupider for investing all of this time into Shepard just to dispose them. Why did you spend all that money, all those resources, and all that time getting Shepard on your side if you were just going to make them your enemy? You could have spent the last 2 years working with Kai Leng. Instead, you wasted it turning Shepard into cybernetic space Jesus. You moron! But really, that's just scratching the surface. Even without the absurdity of Tim wasting his time on Shepard when he could have just gotten Kai Leng, he's still a horrible character. The game spends so much of the second half of the story hyping this guy up and making him look like an intimidating nemesis to contend with. He kills Thane, he kills Miranda if you didn't warn her about him, he outsmarts Shepard on Thessia taking the Prothean VI, you're told by Anderson how he's a bigger threat than the Reapers.
No.
And he gloats at Shepard about failing to defeat him at Thessia. From that description, you'd think he would be a menacing antagonist and a real badass who would put you on the edge whenever he appears. Instead, Kai Leng is one of the most hollow, boring, forgettable, generic, one-note, empty, meaningless, and wasted characters in video game history. I cannot think of a single noteworthy thing about him that's worth bringing up. His personality is so flat and wooden he'd might as well be a talking plank, and his dialogue amounts to little more than gloating and complaining. They try to give him plot significance by portraying him as a dangerous figure, but every time he's on screen he does nothing to leave an impression. He makes 3 major appearances and 2 of them are having you kick his ass. And in each of his cutscenes, whether major or minor, he adds nothing to the story. He just walks around taking orders from Tim without the writer showing us any of his own motivations. They do nothing to flesh him out or even make an attempt to give him depth. He's just a generic henchman, and that's a problem when the game is constantly overhyping him and making him seem like a big deal. Hell, the one-shot villains from Mass Effect 2 had more established backstory and developed personality. He's flimsily introduced in the second half of the last game in the trilogy, he barely gets any screen time, and all he does whenever he's on screen is gloat while getting his ass handed to him. He's just a random asshole that neither the player nor the protagonist knows anything about, and yet the game expects you to accept him as an important character with no setup. Even during the 3 times you fight him, he does nothing impressive. All he does is swing a sword around. Which, by the way, why does he even use a sword? It's just a generic piece of metal in a universe where everyone is using highly advanced futuristic guns and biotic superpowers. And it's not like the sword is augmented to be like this unbreakable titanium. You easily break it by punching it. It's literally just a plain sword that's completely worthless in the Mass Effect universe. And the way he's killed off just makes him look like a total bitch. If you use the Renegade Interrupt, you easily break his weapon. If you don't, you just dodge his attack like it was nothing. This brings me back to the Game Informer magazine I mentioned earlier. In the interview, Casey foreshadowed Kai Leng's presence by saying Shepard would come across a rival who would truly put them to the test. So either Casey was buying into his own hype way too much, or this was yet another lie he tried to sell people. Kai Leng is just pathetic. Fist's bodyguards were more intimidating than this guy.